Ardennes Forest, December 1944. A young German soldier, exhausted and freezing in a foxhole during the Battle of the Bulge, finds a leaflet that's drifted down from the sky. It's printed in perfect German on quality paper. The message is simple and direct: the war is lost. Your generals know it. Your government knows it. You know it. You can survive this war. Surrender to American forces. You will receive food, medical care, safety, and fair treatment under the Geneva Convention. This is not propaganda. This is the truth. The soldier reads it carefully. Everything he's been told by Nazi propaganda says this is enemy lies designed to weaken German morale. But something about this leaflet is different. It doesn't make wild promises. It doesn't insult Germany or Germans. It doesn't claim the Americans are winning easily. It simply states facts he already suspects are true, and offers a way out. Over the next weeks, this soldier will see American promises proven true as comrades who surrender return with stories of good treatment. He'll watch the German situation deteriorate exactly as the leaflets predict. And eventually, when his unit is surrounded and he faces death or capture, he'll remember this leaflet, and choose to surrender, clutching it as his safe passage. He's one of hundreds of thousands of German soldiers who surrendered to American forces partially because of psychological warfare leaflets. This is the story of why these leaflets worked when similar efforts by other nations largely failed. The answer reveals a profound truth about credibility, honesty, and the power of telling the truth even to your enemies. American psychological operations in World War II succeeded because of an unusual strategy: telling the truth. The American approach to surrender leaflets was revolutionary compared to British, Soviet, or German propaganda. While others used exaggeration, deception, and emotional manipulation, Americans used verifiable facts and honest promises. The principles: never lie or exaggerate. If you make a promise, keep it absolutely. Don't insult the enemy, address them as fellow human beings facing difficult circumstances. Provide specific, checkable information that proves American credibility. Offer concrete benefits for surrender, not vague promises. The organizational commitment: the U.S. Office of War Information and Military Psychological Warfare units were staffed by advertising professionals, journalists, and psychologists who understood persuasion. They conducted surveys of German POWs to understand what would be believable and persuasive. They tested messages before mass distribution. They coordinated with combat units to ensure promises made in leaflets were honored. The contrast with German propaganda: Nazi leaflets to Allied soldiers made absurd claims: your wives are unfaithful while you fight. The Jews control your government. You're dying for nothing. These messages were obviously propaganda and had little effect. American leaflets avoided this entirely. They addressed real concerns German soldiers had: survival, treatment as POWs, the war's outcome. The credibility foundation: Americans understood that one proven lie destroys all future credibility. Therefore, leaflets were meticulously fact-checked. Promises were cleared with command to ensure they could be kept. This radical honesty became the foundation of American PSYOP success. American surrender leaflets varied but shared common themes and structures. Here are real examples: the Safe Conduct Pass, Passierschein. The most famous leaflet was a simple safe conduct pass. Front side, Passierschein, in large letters. Then, the German soldier who carries this leaflet is using it as a sign of genuine wish to surrender. He is to be disarmed, treated well, given food and medical care, and transported to a safe area as quickly as possible. Back side, instructions in German explaining how to surrender safely: approach with hands raised and this leaflet visible. Call out, Kamerad. Do not carry weapons. Follow instructions from American soldiers. The key: this wasn't propaganda, it was a functional document that American soldiers were instructed to honor. The intelligence leaflet: these provided factual military information Germans could verify: on, date, American forces captured, city. Your own radio confirms this. On date, the Red Army advanced to location. This is true. Your position is now surrounded on 3 sides. This is your situation. These leaflets demonstrated American intelligence knowledge, proving Americans knew the German situation better than German soldiers did. The condition comparison, these compared conditions for German soldiers versus American POWs, inadequate food, no medical care, outdated equipment, hopeless tactical situation. American POW, 3 meals daily, medical care, heated barracks, mail service, Geneva Convention protection. Brutally honest, uncomfortably true. The family appeal, less common but effective, your family needs you to survive this war. Dead soldiers cannot rebuild Germany. Surrendering is not cowardice, it's survival. These leaflets avoided manipulation. They were direct, honest, and verifiable, which made them credible. What made German soldiers believe American leaflets? Verification through multiple channels, radio broadcasts. Americans operated German-language radio stations broadcasting news, music, and surrender information. German soldiers could tune in secretly and hear the same messages as the leaflets. When leaflets said, "American forces captured X city," the radio confirmed it. When German official broadcasts eventually admitted the same facts days later, American credibility was proven. Returnees and escapees, some German soldiers surrendered, were processed, and later escaped or were exchanged. They returned to German lines with stories confirming American promises. They fed us. They gave medical care. They treated us according to Geneva Convention. These first-hand accounts from trusted comrades were more persuasive than any leaflet. Visual evidence. Leaflets included photographs of German POWs in American camps, clean, well-fed Germans in organized camps. POWs receiving Red Cross packages. POWs writing letters home. Germans could see these weren't propaganda photos, the men looked genuinely healthy and adequately cared for. Combat behavior. American treatment of captured Germans on the battlefield matched leaflet promises. Medics treated German wounded. Guards provided food and water. POWs were quickly evacuated to rear areas. This battlefield behavior proved leaflet promises were institutional policy, not propaganda. The compound effect, each verification channel reinforced the others. A soldier might read a leaflet, hear radio confirmation, talk to a returned POW, and see photographic evidence, all saying the same thing. This multi-source verification created unshakable credibility. Understanding why leaflets worked requires understanding the German soldiers' situation by late 1944, the military reality, the war was clearly lost. Even loyal German soldiers could see this. Soviet advances in the east were unstoppable. Western allies had liberated France and were approaching Germany. German industrial capacity was collapsing under bombing. Replacement troops were teenagers and old men, not combat-effective soldiers. The personal reality, soldiers were exhausted, cold, hungry, and demoralized. Many had been fighting for years without leave. Casualties among friends and comrades were catastrophic. Letters from home described bombing, shortages, and suffering. The Nazi response, German propaganda became increasingly delusional. Wunderwaffen will turn the tide. Wonder weapons, victory is near. The Americans are weak and will collapse. These claims contradicted soldiers' direct experience, undermining official credibility. The psychological state, German soldiers faced cognitive dissonance. Official propaganda said victory was possible. Personal experience said defeat was certain. The question became, how do I survive the inevitable? The leaflet offered an answer: surrender to Americans, survive the war, go home eventually. This wasn't defeatism, it was pragmatism. The ideological factor. By late 1944, many German soldiers had lost faith in Nazi ideology. Hitler's promises of victory were empty. The regime's brutality was evident. Soldiers didn't want to die for a lost cause and a failed ideology. The leaflets gave permission to make the rational choice: survival over pointless death. German propaganda's failure made American leaflets more credible by comparison. The Nazi approach to Allied soldiers, leaflets and radio broadcasts used, sexual manipulation, your women are unfaithful. Racial fearmongering, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Exaggeration, claims of massive Allied casualties that were obviously false. Crude insults and mockery. The effect, Allied soldiers laughed at German propaganda. It was so obviously false and crude that it had no credibility. This taught German soldiers what ineffective propaganda looked like, making American sophistication more impressive. The Nazi approach to German soldiers, official German propaganda told soldiers, victory is certain. Obviously false by 1944, death is glorious. Soldiers knew death was just death, the enemy will torture and kill prisoners. Fear-based, ultimately proven false, retreat is forbidden. Suicidal orders, the credibility collapse. As German soldiers saw promises of victory fail repeatedly, they stopped believing anything official sources said. When official propaganda claimed Americans mistreated POWs, soldiers remembered all the other lies, and assumed this was also false. The American advantage: by being honest, Americans filled the credibility vacuum created by Nazi lies. When German soldiers wanted truth about the war situation, they increasingly turned to American sources, leaflets, radio broadcasts, prisoner testimonies. The psychological dynamic: Nazi propaganda had cried wolf too many times. Even when they told truths, like American bombing of cities, soldiers were skeptical. American propaganda built credibility slowly but steadily. Once established, it became the more trusted source. The Passierschein, Safe Conduct Pass, was the most successful surrender leaflet in history. Here's how it functioned: the design, simple, official-looking document. German on one side, English on the other. Clear instructions for surrender process. Serial number, creating sense of legitimacy. Allied command signatures or stamps, appeared official. The distribution: millions were dropped over German positions by aircraft, artillery shells, or rockets. Leaflets fell like snow on German trenches and foxholes. Soldiers could pick them up without being observed collecting enemy propaganda. Some were placed in care packages or mail that Germans might intercept. The soldier's decision: a German soldier finding a pass faced a choice: keep it hidden for possible later use. Turn it in to officers, risking punishment for not doing so immediately. Destroy it to avoid possession charges. Most kept them, just in case. The surrender process: when a German decided to surrender, he'd approach American lines with hands raised, pass visible. He'd call, Kamerad. Comrade, or, nicht schießen. Don't shoot. American soldiers, trained to recognize the passes, would cease fire. The German would be disarmed, searched, given water/cigarettes, and sent to rear areas. The verification: what happened next was critical. The German received food, real food, not starvation rations. Medical care if wounded, competent treatment. Transport to POW camp, not execution as Nazi propaganda claimed. The POW experience: in camps, Germans found adequate food. American rations were generous by German standards. Heated barracks, luxury compared to frontline foxholes. Medical care and male privileges. Treatment according to Geneva Convention. The word spreads: released or escaped POWs returned to German lines reporting, everything on the leaflet was true. They treated us as promised. This first-hand testimony made future leaflets even more credible. The effectiveness of American psychological warfare is evident in surrender statistics. The numbers: Western Front, 1944 to 1945, approximately 7.6 million German soldiers surrendered to Western allies. Not all surrenders were due to leaflets, but PSYOP was a contributing factor in hundreds of thousands of cases. Post-war surveys of German POWs revealed 35 to 40% said surrender leaflets influenced their decision to surrender. 60 to 65% said they believed American leaflet promises were truthful. 75% plus said they found American propaganda more credible than German official information by late 1944. The timing pattern, surrender rates increased dramatically in correlation with leaflet distribution, early 1944, relatively few leaflet-influenced surrenders. Late 1944, after months of leaflet campaigns, surrender rates increased significantly. Early 1945, as German military collapse accelerated mass surrenders partly attributable to PSYOP. Specific operations, during Operation Market Garden, September 1944, thousands of Germans surrendered carrying safe conduct passes. Battle of the Bulge, December 1944 to January 1945. Despite fierce fighting, thousands of surrounded Germans chose surrender over death, many citing leaflets. Final months, March-May 1945, entire units surrendered en masse, often after receiving leaflets explaining their tactical situation. The economic analysis, cost per German soldier removed from combat through PSYOP, approximately 40 cents, cost of printing and distributing leaflets. Cost per German soldier removed from combat through direct military action, approximately $25,000, ammunition, fuel, supplies, casualties. PSYOP was extraordinarily cost-effective, the best investment in casualty reduction available. The Allied advantage, every German who surrendered was, one fewer enemy soldier to fight. One more mouth for Germany to feed, if exchanged or held in Germany. One potential source of intelligence. One person who'd tell others that American promises were truthful. Individual testimonies reveal why German soldiers trusted American leaflets. Oberstleutnant Hans Schmidt, composite based on multiple accounts. I picked up a leaflet in December 1944 near Aachen. It said the Americans had surrounded my division, which I could confirm from my position. It said our supplies were cut off, also true, we'd had no rations for 2 days. It said surrender would mean food, medical care, and safety. A week later, my entire company was surrounded. Our officer wanted us to fight to the death. I showed my sergeant the leaflet. He'd found one too. We surrendered together, 15 men. Everything the leaflet promised was true. We ate that night. My frostbite was treated. I survived the war. Without that leaflet, I'd have died in that forest. Unteroffizier Karl Becker, Nazi propaganda said Americans shot prisoners. I didn't believe it. I'd seen American leaflets that were accurate about battle situations. When I was wounded and couldn't retreat, I surrendered. The American medic who treated me gave me his own chocolate bar. That small act proved everything the leaflets promised. I told everyone after the war, Americans were honest. Their leaflets told the truth. Gefreiter Wilhelm Hoffmann, I fought in Russia, then transferred west. Soviet propaganda was crude, obvious lies. American propaganda was different. It didn't insult us. It stated facts we could verify. It offered survival without demanding we betray Germany, just stop fighting. When my unit was surrounded in the Ruhr pocket, I remembered those leaflets. I convinced my squad to surrender. We all survived. Some friends who kept fighting died in the final weeks for nothing. The common theme, soldiers repeatedly mentioned that American honesty and verifiable claims created trust. The leaflets gave moral permission to make the rational choice. Personal treatment after surrender reinforced that Americans kept their promises. The success of American World War II surrender leaflets established principles still used today, the fundamental lessons: truth is more persuasive than propaganda in the long term. Credibility is built slowly but destroyed instantly, never lie. Promises must be kept absolutely, institutional follow-through is essential. Address the enemy as rational actors making difficult decisions. Provide specific, verifiable information to establish credibility. Coordinate PSYOP with battlefield behavior, actions must match words. The modern application, these principles influenced Cold War psychological operations. Vietnam-era PSYOP, with mixed success when promises weren't kept. Gulf War surrender leaflets, highly effective, using World War II principles. Iraq and Afghanistan information operations. Modern counterinsurgency communication strategies. The Why It Mattered, American PSYOP in World War II saved lives on both sides, German soldiers who surrendered survived. American soldiers faced fewer enemies. Battles ended faster with less destruction. The post-war benefit, Germans who surrendered because of honest American promises became advocates for American credibility during occupation and Reconstruction. This goodwill aided post-war democratization of West Germany. The ethical dimension, the American approach proved that effective warfare doesn't require deception toward the enemy about basic human treatment. Honesty about military situation and treatment of POWs was both ethical and effective. The conclusion, German soldiers believed American surrender leaflets because Americans told the truth, kept their promises, and treated enemy soldiers as human beings deserving of dignity. This wasn't weakness, it was strategic brilliance. The most powerful weapon in psychological warfare isn't clever deception, it's credible truth. When your enemy can verify everything you say and knows you keep every promise, your words become more powerful than bullets. That's why German soldiers believed American leaflets, and why hundreds of thousands chose survival over pointless death. The lesson endures, in war as in peace, credibility built on truth is the most powerful persuasive force available.